bit about, you said you met and you started with Tito Puente Jr. when you were, did you say 19?
19.
19. Yeah. That's what I thought I heard you say.
Yeah.
So how did that happen? Because that's really young to be working with him and then doing all that. So what happened?
Yes. So, okay. So, remember I said I was musical director of a group called La Excelencia. I started with La Excelencia first. So with La Excelencia, that's when I became a professional musician. I had outgrew my experience with Clave Azul. I already graduated high school. And so Tito Puente Jr., with Clave Azul, how the whole thing with Tito happened was that I was performing at a place called G&G's in the city. And his cousin, I believe it was his cousin, was at the club that night. And he saw me directing La Excelencia at that time. And so after La Excelencia was done, he approached me and said, hey, I have a cousin from Florida who is looking for a musical director.
A cousin.
Yeah, a cousin. And I was like, okay, who's your cousin? And he's like, well, I'm not going to tell you. Just give me your number and he's going to call you on Sunday. Because we were performing on Friday. So I'm sure, no problem. 19 years old, okay, cool. So Sunday comes around and I get a phone call and I pick up and he goes, yeah, hi, this is Tito Puente Jr. And I'm like, who? Right. And he goes, yeah, this is Tito Puente Jr., Tito Puente's son. And I'm like, no, you got to be kidding me. And he goes, no, I'm not lying. Are you available for this? I have a concert. It's going to be in Long Island. Wanted to know if you were available. Wanted you to put the group together. And I'm going to be honest. Never in my life did I ever play Tito Puente music like that. I mean, I played Oye Como Va with the kids, with my teenage group. But never have I ever sat down and looked at these like mambo charts from Tito Puente. And so even though I didn't know, I said yes to the opportunity. Because one thing I learned is that when opportunity comes knocking at the door, if it's in your direction and if it's in your favor, go for it no matter what, and then you'll figure it out. So that's what I did. I said yes. I said, I'll do the gig. And so I had to contact all these musicians and figure it out. Musicians who I didn't know. Like I had to get 3 saxophones, 2 trombones, 2 trumpets, bass, piano. I mean, I was playing piano, so percussion. I had to get the whole shebang, right? And so I did that. I did my first concert in Long Island, and I bombed. I bombed so bad. And I'm not afraid to say that, and I'm not afraid to share it. I bombed. I did pretty bad. But I'm grateful that Tito Puente Jr. saw that I was ambitious and eager and willing to learn. So he gave me a second chance. And so I came ready the second chance. And I knocked it out the ballpark. And here we are, 21 years later.
That's a great story. Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
So that's how the whole thing happened.
But like you said, if it's an opportunity, like a once in a lifetime thing, like I think you got to take it, right? And you tried, but you got to learn. Like you're learning on the fly. So,
And I'm grateful for Tito because through him, I learned so much about his father's music, Tito Puente, and even I met his sister, I met his brothers, his mother is fantastic. And just being around that family and being around that energy, it just pushed me more to learn about the culture, to learn about the music, So I'm just grateful for the whole Puente family, for taking me in.
Thing. Yeah, that's a wonderful story. It's really, it's fascinating and it's a really like cute story. So.
No, thank you. But again, it wasn't. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, but it was with Tito. I've done a lot of concerts here in the northeastern part of the United States. But with La Excelencia, that's the group that I was able to travel all over the world and see the social impact, or not even the social impact, but just the impact that salsa has all over the world. And
who responds to it the most? Like, where would you say, as you've traveled, like the people who enjoy it and appreciate it? Everybody, first of all.
Yeah, everybody. But I would say the country that we kept on going to, that we kept on going back to, was Belgium.
Which
So
is so unusual.
yeah. But Belgium, we have a solid fan base in Belgium. But then aside from that, you know, like Cyprus, the way they received us with open arms. I mean, I didn't want to leave Cyprus.
Oh,
And if my people from Cyprus are watching this, I love you and I miss you. I miss you guys. But Cyprus, Turkey, I mean, they were all these countries were just fantastic. The response that we were getting. Turkey, Cyprus, Germany, Norway,
oh my
just so
goodness.
many of them. Poland,
It's really
Mexico.
cool. It's
Mhm.
very cool to see internationally that it's such a phenomenon. Like, everybody loves it. It's not just
Yeah,
the United States and the South America and Central America. It's a whole other side of the world who's
right.
fascinated by it. So
Exactly. And I say those people out there, they dance it better than we do. I mean, I'm not much of a dancer, but they can really they were showing off. I mean, I was like, okay, that's way too much. The flips and the spins and all that stuff. I'm like, man.
tone it down. No.
It was great. I mean, it was just a great experience traveling all over the world and experiencing it. You know, hence why we called it International Salsa Museum.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, and hence why we are establishing something called ISMA, which is the International Salsa Museum Alliance, where we're planning on partnering with several organizations around the world, educating their cities and their communities, about salsa and
You
bringing in
know,
people from New York.
you mentioned last time also that the space where you're planning to do this museum is a much larger space. And I like what you said about the idea of almost it becoming like a lifestyle place, right? Where there might be other things. Can you just talk a little bit about what you were thinking there in terms of it growing and what it could possibly be and look like?
Yes, for sure. Well, the place that we're planning on having the International Salsa Museum is the Kingsbridge Armory, which is in the Bronx. I don't know any better place right now for the Salsa Museum to be located at, but the Bronx, given the Bronx's history, along with the East with Spanish Harlem, right? But the Bronx that's I feel like that's where salsa, where it molded, its shape was forming, and all these Puerto Ricans and great musicians from all over the Caribbean were coming to and settled themselves in the Bronx. So we plan on having the museum at the Kingsbridge Armory. It's, from my understanding, is 2 million square feet of
It's like a
space.
small country.
5 acres worth of space, right? And so we're allocating about 150,000 square feet for the International Salsa Museum, but the rest of the armory is, since we're planning on being the anchor tenant of the Kingsbridge Armory, the rest of the armory is going to be catered to the Latin culture and Latin music. And it's open to everybody. It's not just for Latinos. It's everybody will be able to go there. But yeah, we're planning on having like great restaurants, not your food chain restaurants. You're not gonna see McDonald's. You're not gonna see Applebee's. You're gonna see Josefina's Cocina restaurant, or
Right.
like just, and in that space, we're also planning on having a amphitheater in the space as well to have live events, to have cultural events, to have speaking engagements, and open to the public, not just for the museum itself. But imagine like having, and don't quote me on this, right? But imagine having like Mark Anthony coming to the Bronx and
Yeah.
having a concert, So basically that's it. In regards to the space, we want the Kingsbridge Armory. We want it to be in the Bronx, and we're definitely every square inch of that space is going to be catered to the community, to the Latin culture, and servicing the New York area, not just the community itself, but the New York area and for the rest of the world. We needed a large space to also welcome the rest of the world, especially when
Right.
we told, the future of the Salsa Congress will probably be at the Armory. So we needed a big enough space for that.
It's going to be amazing. What do you think is kind of like a target for having something done, sort of? Like, what are you guys thinking?
pretty ambitious, but we're moving with urgency. So I'm gonna say 2020, between 2026 and 2027. And it's pretty ambitious because a few people have actually mentioned to me that it's pretty ambitious, just because the enormity, how big this is going to be. I mean, we have to curate everything under the sun, from the history of salsa music, reaching out to these families who it's very hard to get in touch with us. When I say families, reaching out to the families of the people that were involved in the music industry, in the salsa industry. So reaching out to Hector Lavoe's family, Johnny Pacheco's family, and everybody else to curate everything that we need for the museum, and to also gather the data and the information that we need. So yeah, 2027 is pretty ambitious, but we're moving with urgency, because at the end of the day, we don't have time. We're losing a lot of our legends. They're getting much older. The kids are getting more and more disconnected to the music. And some people will say, well, Willy, you're starting to hear salsa influence in hip hop now, but at the same time, these kids cannot connect that sample is coming from, Fidel Conde or from Tito Puente. They can't.
I understand. They don't know the history, the legacy. There's a whole story that is told when you're listening to a piece of music like that, not just grabbing a little sample and popping it in for something because you think it sounds cool,
Exactly. But I'll tell you this, the good thing though, even though 2027 seems like it's very far away, we're not waiting for the museum to open up. We're already starting to implement certain programs. One of them being that we partnered up, as of last month, we partnered up with the New York City Police Foundation, along with the Ron Carter Foundation and the Council for Living Music, to put together a citywide music program that's going to teach kids and young adults about salsa and jazz music.
Oh, that's great. That's a really good way to keep it, or to start it while you're working on all this other stuff, and to have some kind of a presence still there that you can just continue to build and have some momentum. That's a really great idea.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. So we're right in the very beginning stages of it, but it's the amount of support that we're getting is amazing, and so I'm grateful for that too. And I'm so grateful for the NYPD, because they're the ones that actually contacted us, saying, hey, we want to do something with you guys. And it's not just about introducing kids to salsa and jazz, but it's also bridging that gap between the police and the community.
Yeah, and that's huge. That's a big deal too. We always hear all this crazy news these days. So if we can bring them together and not be adversarial, we need everybody to work together. So that's a really smart thing. Yeah, I'm super excited to hear that they reached out to you guys. So
yeah, no, thank you. And since music saved my life, imagine a bunch of kids from all over the city being part of this program, not only learning the salsa and jazz, but just talking to a police officer.
Right.
Just having a conversation, even if they're not interested in the music piece, they can still go up. They'll be able to go to a police officer and ask them about how to become a police officer. What does it take? Build that relationship with the police officer.
Right. Exactly.
And a big shout out to a group called La Jara. You guys can look them up. It's La, L-A-J-A-R-A, La Jara Band. They're a music band made up of police officers.
Oh, how funny. How cool.
Yeah, it's amazing. So they performed at our soft launch last month, and they performed in uniform, and they were playing salsa and merengue and stuff like that.
How fun
there were
is
some
that?
kids at the school that we went to that went up to the police officers and said, this is the first time I get to speak to a police officer without being afraid.
Well, I think that's the thing, breaking that down, that they're human beings too, right? And yes, they are in a place of authority, but not always having to look at them that way when it's only something negative or bad. Like they should be part of what like all the time, right? They should be there for good as well. So yeah, that's very cool.